Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, June 30th, 2017.
Commissioner Rivas, Repenning, James, and Jacinto are present. President James, we have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning. Mark Simon, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning. Barry Berggren, Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning. Jim Berman, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning. Hannah Choi, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning. Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning. Lori Rittenberg, City Attorney.
Dr. Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we did not receive any speaker cards under general public comment. We have no commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section, and we did receive a speaker card on item number 2 for today's regular agenda.
Okay, we'll close general public comment as well as the Neighborhood Council category of commentary. Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Monday, June 12, 2017 by Commissioners Rivas and Repenning? Any objection? With that objection, we will approve those meeting minutes. Agenda item number 5 is a bond to release a stop notice for Flatiron West Incorporated. Flatiron West Incorporated and its sureties have transmitted a bond to release money withheld on a stop notice filed by United Steel Placers Incorporated. The bond amount of $589,746.11 in connection with the Riverside Drive Viaduct Replacement over Los Angeles River Project. Is there a second to my motion that we receive agenda item 5 forthwith by Commissioners Davis and Jacinto? Any objection? With that objection, we will approve agenda item number 5. Agenda item number 4, Council District 1, the Mayor has approved and authorized the Board to retroactively execute the proposed First Amendment to the contract with Big Belly Solar to increase the contract ceiling from $120,000 to $180,000 to cover the cost of the 6-month extension needed to test Big Belly's system improvements, and to retroactively execute the proposed Second Amendment to the current term and increase the contract ceiling from $180,000 to $385,000. This is simply coming back for signature. Is there a second to my motion that we approve agenda item number 4 forthwith by Commissioner Repenning? Any objection? With that objection, we will do so. Agenda item number 3, specifications have been submitted for board adoption and authorization to advertise for the invitation of bids. Council Districts 1, 9, 13, and 14 for the secondary sewer renewal program, 7th Street and Valencia Street. The estimate is $1,906,571. The bid receipt date is Wednesday, August 16th, 2017. Is there a second to my motion that we adopt agenda item number 3 forthwith by Commissioner Jacinto? Any objection? With that objection, we will do that. Agenda item, we have a presentation this morning. 27-year Service Retirement Award, Valentino Pueblos, Bureau of Engineering, and we have Shaheen Badin and Shaydung for our presentation this morning. Are we ready? Good morning, sir.
President James, Commissioners, honorable members of the board, good morning. My name is Shay Dong. I'm the counter supervisor of the Bureau of Engineering at the Central District Office. And I've had the great pleasure and privilege of working with this phenomenal engineer for the past year. His name is Valentino Kaluya Pueblos, but to his dear friends and colleagues, we know him as Tony Pueblos. If I had to describe him in 3 words, it would be dedicated, passionate, and humble. And it is because of Tony's humbleness that he will be embarrassed to share with you all his accomplishments. So I'm going to do it for him. He's had a long and distinguished career, 51 years in all. Along the way, he's been an active member of both the American Society of Civil Engineers and the Filipino Association of Civil and Geodetic Engineers. It all started in 1965, where he graduated with a degree in bachelor's degree in civil engineering and land surveying from the University of the Philippines. He went on to work for the Philippines Department of Public Works and Highways and the Bureau of Coast and Geodetic Survey for 13 years. His passion to help others has led him to Africa, where he was contracted to work for the Federal Capital Development Authority in Nigeria. For 11 years, he helped design and implement a master plan for the new capital city of Abuja in Nigeria. Afterwards, looking for a new challenge, his search has led him to Los Angeles, where he started working for the Bureau of Engineering in the West LA office in 1989, issuing permits. 27 years later, 27 years, 8 months later, and in my estimation, 100,000 permits later, he's ready to hang it up and move on to the next chapter in his life. Thank you, Tony. It's been a pleasure, and I wish you nothing but the best.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Shayan Bedin. I'm District Engineer for Central District Bureau of Engineering. And I've had the pleasure and privilege of working with Tony for the last 15 years. I would like to take a couple of minutes of your time. I know board is very busy and we like to get back to the counters too, so I'll be very brief. I could talk for hours about Tony, but it's not, time is the matter right now. Tony is a teacher because he loves to teach, and he loves to teach everything he knows. He doesn't hold back anything. He spends the time that he needs to. He's caring, he's loving, and he's very responsible and accountable. I could always count on Tony, always. And if he was supposed to be in the office, I would know that he will be in the office. He loves to help, and it's proven so many times that his working hours is over at 4:45, but he's at the counter helping someone till like 5:30, 5:45. And the next day he says, we got to do something about this because I can't be here every day like this. And it's just in character. It's just his character to help. He is self-disciplined, and he's the kind of person you want to know, work with, and you will miss if they're not at work. I have personally missed him already. So, Tony, I want to thank you on behalf of Central District, behalf of Bureau of Engineering, City of Los Angeles, for all you have done all these years to help this organization, to help the citizens of this beautiful city. Today is a beautiful day. Enjoy, Tony. I hope you'll have a very long, healthy, and wealthy, and happy retirement. Thank you, Tony. I also want to present to you this certificate that says City of Los Angeles, in recognition of 27 years of employment with the City of Los Angeles, the Board of Public Works honors Valentino Colego Pueblo, Civil Engineer Associate 2, upon this occasion of retirement as mark of appreciation and loyal and efficient service to the people of this city. Thank you, Tony.
Can I be given a chance to talk or
Oh,
whatever?
please. Yes, sir, and then we'll wrap up. But go ahead, sir. The floor is yours. Take as much time as you would like.
Do you give me an option of how many hours I have to talk or something like that?
The lights go off around 9 o'clock tonight.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you. And good morning to everyone. The commissioners of the Board of Public Works, department heads or their representative, fellow employees, friends, and visitors. To prove of how I work, I like to tell you that I think being loyal to them too, we have here a platoon or so many of them are with me today for that. Now, actually, I like to talk for 4 hours, sir, in exchange of my 27 years of service in the city. So I think 4 hours is good for me. But then maybe after 1 hour, I will be only one left here talking. So all of you might be left because it's already time. But nonetheless, I reduce my time of talking. Why I say that? Because when we work in the public counter, we used to talk with customer to understand each other. No, there's no way for you to help the public if you have no good relationship to them. You have to express whatever you like them to do. That's how we work in the public works, public counter. To start with, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be with you today and to receive happily this Certificate of Service Award for my lifelong service. Yes, I have worked continuously for more than 50 years, of which 27 years, 8 months, 15 days, and 11 hours to be exact. I work with the city of Los Angeles. My family, we are 7, and I have my twin brother in the Philippines, who is the retired provincial controller there. And I have my wife, Rosie, and I have only one daughter. And her husband is a medical doctor with the Kaiser Permanente at this time. And I have 2 grandchildren, one grandson of 10 years old and one granddaughter of 4 years old. Here is my words of experience in the public counter, in the Bureau of Engineering. I am proud to say this, of how we work there. But maybe some of you doesn't know what we are doing there. For 27 years of experience, this is what I could tell to everybody. If somebody who would like to work in a public counter, who would like to work and willing to be always busy, and sometimes you forget your break time. Sometimes you forget your lunch time. They can tell you there. Sometimes you forget your reduced or the short day schedule. Why? Because you are so attentive to the public being served by us. That's how we serve in the public counter. Where there is a lot of experiences, both in technical works and public relations in general, including the answering of phone calls for critical questions, emails, and other communications. We are checking the plans and processing them for issuing permits for public works. There's so many permits there to mention. That's our work every day. At least we have to help at least 20 or 25 in a day for that. I calculated it myself. For 27 years and 8 months, I think I have held roughly about 81,000. Yes, an average of about 20 in a day. That's how we work there. And we always work side by side with all the departments of the city of Los Angeles to issue public works permits and requirements for the issuance of building and safety building permits. Now today, I have decided to finally retire from the service with the effective on July 8th. I think that will be next week. At the end of my career, after rendering service to the public diligently and efficiently. As for my plans of retirement, yes, there are so many of them. To mention some, you must have your time for your family, time with friends, relaxation and enjoyments, vacations and travels, which is normal, social and religious activities. Yes, we can easily fulfill that. Why? Because finally I will have the 2 days in a week, only 2 days in a week. I have, like today is Friday. It's not Friday for me when I retire. I have only 2 days in a week. And what is that 2 days? I will have finally 6 Saturday and 1 Sunday. 6 Saturdays and 1 Sunday. With never-ending coffee breaks. Yes, it's there. Never-ending coffee breaks. And you will have your very long lunch already when you retire. Yes. And multiple sleeping and nap time. And now I am proud to be called a senior citizen with all the discounts I can have whenever I pay. That's how proud when you are a senior citizen. At this time, all of us, I would like to say my sincerest thanks to the City of Los Angeles in general, to the Department of Public Works, thank you. Thank you to the Bureau of Engineering and staff. In particular, we have our Division Chief, Shaheen, our Assistant Chief, Mr. Panijiri, our Energetic Supervisor, Shadong, and all of my colleagues there, the company of them. Thank you very much for our working together for the past how many years there. And I hope, and I'm very proud to say that yes, we are guaranteed that that office is maintained by them because they are all knowledgeable there for that. Thank you very much. And in all considerations of what I have said, is it already 1 hour or not? Okay. What I have said, lastly, sirs, as a token of thanks and loyalty to our country, and by coincidence is our Independence Day at this time or whatever, let me quote one of our national, traditional, and patriotic song entitled, can you guess what is that song? America the Beautiful. Hopefully in the last part we can sing all together with me as a thanksgiving for me. Now we go. America the Beautiful, oh beautiful, for spacious skies, for amber waves of green, for purple mountains, majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Can we sing all together? America, America,
Time, here we are on the July
God
4th.
shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, sir. We will start with Commissioner Jacinto. Tony,
Can't
don't go
beat that.
anywhere.
Can't touch that. Thank you, President James. Shay and Shaheen, thank you for that wonderful testimony. This board has probably never seen that.
Nope.
And that's the first time. And Mr. Pueblos, maraming salamat po for your service. As the board liaison to the Bureau of Engineering, and it's so good to see so many members. Raise your hand if you're from our Bureau of Engineering family here in support of Tony. Thank you for being here. Wow. I'm going to be brief, but I do want to commend your 50 years, your representing the best of the Filipino experience in the diaspora and your service around the world, in the homeland, as you went to the alma mater of my mother as well, the University of the Philippines. But your career here, you're ending up in your pueblo of Los Angeles, Mr. Pueblos, here in LA in your 27 years, you know, being a counter engineer for the Bureau of Engineering is where it hits the public. And your interface is incredible for all these years of the diligence and the responsibility and the empathy that we need to have as city workers in order to serve. That's Mayor Eric Garcetti's agenda, and you embody that ethic. So, Mr. Pueblos, on behalf of the 81,000 people that you've helped, that you've calculated, you know, all those projects have gone and been successful. Thank you so much for being a beacon, for being a role model, for being a wonderful public servant, and may you continue to live and thrive. In our language, I will say to you, maraming salamat at mabuhay po kayo. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Tony, I want to just commend you for taking your skills as an engineer and engaging in public service. I think that clearly you are a role model, and you have exemplified to us your patriotism as well. And you talked about how great America is, but I want you to know that you have contributed significantly to America by the work that you have done right here in Los Angeles. I think that you are in perhaps one of the most dynamic and probably one of the most powerful public engineering divisions in America right here in Los Angeles. And the way in which you took your job seriously, you clearly performed and went the extra mile in the work that you did. And when I heard you speak and I heard the values that you embrace, those are the kinds of values that say to our young people and those that you leave behind that public service is important. And Dr. King said it best when he said, anybody can be great because everybody can serve. And so I thank you for the service that you have given to the city of Los Angeles, but even more importantly, I thank you for how you have given that service. You have given it with the utmost of excellence, and you are truly an exemplar of residents of the city of Los Angeles through the service that you have given, and I thank you so very much for what you have given us.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Rivas.
Wow, Tony, I don't know what the engineering counter is going to do without you after what I saw today, but just so impressed with your service. You know, I have a lot of friends that are engineers or that I studied with in college, and some of them want to leave the field of engineering because they feel that they don't get to help people, you know, and you have helped 81,000 people as an engineer, and that's only one of the ways possible is through public service and through working for the city. So on behalf of all of these people, thank you for your service, and I hope you enjoy retirement, or maybe you're going to another city. You mentioned the Philippines, then Nigeria, Los Angeles. Maybe there's a plan to go somewhere else that we don't know of, that you'll make a difference. But whatever you end up doing, I know you will continue to make a difference and help people. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rivas. Commissioner Repenning.
Tony, I just want to join in my colleagues in wishing you a happy retirement. It sounds like it is well earned, and it sounds like you will be definitely enjoying your time with your family. And, you know, you may or may not have a singing career as part of your retirement. So if you do decide to postpone your retirement, however, we'll continue to be happy to have you work for the city of LA. Thanks for everyone for coming down from our public counter today.
Thank you, Commissioner Repenning. You know, I've often wondered when I'm over at the Public Works Building why I see people leaving the counter humming America the Beautiful. I think we answered the mystery. I thought it was just an urban legend in City Hall, but now we know it was actually our conductor, Tony. So thank you for your incredible experience to the city, for your words of wisdom today, and I just join my colleagues in wishing you a very happy and healthy and wonderful retirement. It is an amazing milestone in life. And I believe that the opportunity to retire is such a wonderful privilege that not everyone gets to share, because not everyone is blessed with health and age long enough to get to that point in their lives if they've had a career that would enable it. And so congratulations in your fortune and the benefit of your family to have your time to spend with them during this period. So with that, congratulations, Tony. We'll take just a quick photo here, and then we'll get back on our agenda. But here's to Tony's 27 years with the city and 51 years. All right, thank you. So, Dr. Campos, what I would like to do, we have special that was set for 10:15. We'll cover the special, then get back on our original agenda. So why don't you go ahead and do the roll call for the special, and we'll get underway.
Absolutely. A roll call for the special agenda. We have Commissioner Rivas, Commissioner Repenning, Commissioner James, Commissioner Davis, and Commissioner Jacinto. You do have a quorum. We do not have any public comment cards. We also do not have any neighborhood council commentary section. We did receive speaker cards on item number 1.
Okay, so we will close general public comment on special as well as neighborhood council category of commentary. Let me call special 1, and then we will get underway. Policy number 781, supplemental 1, ad hoc business advisory committee report in concept form, that the Board of Public Works, subject to the mayor's approval, first, adopt the Board of Public Works ad hoc business advisory committee report. Secondly, authorize the co-chairs of the ad hoc business advisory committee to further analyze, explore, and formulate a proposed feasible or practical approach to operationalize and implement each. I didn't know operationalize is a word. That's good. And implement each of the 8 recommendations, options as described in the ad hoc business advisory committee report, and request that the co-chairs provide quarterly status updates on the progress made, challenges presented, and next steps. And third, authorize the executive officer to communicate the proposed policy number 781, supplemental number 1, to all bureau directors and office heads, and to make technical corrections or clarifications that may be necessary to implement the intent of the proposed concept. Commissioner Davis and Commissioner Repenning on special. Oh, before we begin with special one, why don't we go through some of the speaker cards, and then we will go to our colleagues. Oh, okay, that's fine. So what we'll do is we'll have the presentation first, then we'll go to the speaker cards because they are coming in from people that are participating in the program. So Commissioner Davis, either one.
Okay. Thank you, President James, to my distinguished colleagues on the Board of Public Works and leaders in the various bureaus here assembled, and members and citizens of Los Angeles. It is absolutely an honor and privilege to serve as a co-chair along with my colleague, Vice Chair Heather Repenning, on the Ad Hoc Business Advisory Committee. Historically, we have had 3 levels of government in which we share services with the public, whether that be public education, whether that be government service in terms of jobs within government, or thirdly, whether that be public contracting. The issue of diversity is really a lesson that you already know about in terms of the history of our country, in terms of our quest to integrate and to make diversity available for everybody in the services that we give. The last frontier of integration of those services is not public education, it's not government service, but in fact it is public contracting. And that is the charge that we have specifically here in the city of Los Angeles. In the past, we have gone through affirmative action, and prior to affirmative action, there were some data that revealed what we were not able to do in terms of Los Angeles. Takachi and Rosenbaum, 2 scholars out of Stanford, did an assessment prior to affirmative action, and at that time, Los Angeles, prior to it, was at 2% in terms of minority inclusion in its contracting work. After affirmative action, it was realized in 1983 through 1989, we went up to 14% minority business inclusion here in the Los Angeles area. And so, the challenge to hold to our commitment of inclusion is something for which Mayor Eric Garcetti feels is really important and is very serious about. What we have done, and I'll be very brief here, is align our program with 2 things. 1, the leadership that the mayor has provided in the Back to Basic principles. 1, promote good jobs for all of Los Angelinos across all of Los Angeles, and specifically making it easy to do business in Los Angeles, and specifically to nurture small businesses, as the mayor has indicated in those Back to Basic principles. And secondly, to provide outstanding customer services to our residents and businesses, to go the extra mile to serve the public, to follow through on our commitments, and to measure customer satisfaction. And finally, to partner with citizens and civic groups to build a greater city by engaging citizens in decisions, seeking opportunities and innovative solutions to problems, and to build a shared community. Also, we aligned our work with the vision here in the Public Works Department. And of all of those philosophies that are part of our vision, I think that this paragraph sums it up for us in Public Works. We in Public Works honor the diversity of our customers and deliver quality services that meet individual, neighborhood, and community needs. We are flexible and responsive. We listen to our customers and make public participation an integral part of our open decision-making processes. We welcome being held accountable for the quality and efficiency of the products and services we provide. Our standard for excellence is measured by the satisfaction of our customers. The work that we do can really be summed up in 2 basic questions for which through our work over the incoming time periods and quarterly reports, we should hopefully find an answer. One, what are the factors preventing prime contractors from including minority and women-owned businesses in their work to increase small and emergent businesses on local publicly funded construction projects? And two, what resources, education, training, job aids, or policy augmentation does the city need to provide to prime contractors to help them realize their minority inclusion vision? I will conclude this overview by a quote by Paul Sun from Yale University, who did a study on fighting the underrepresentation of minorities on publicly funded construction projects. And he simply said this: public works projects administered by state and local governments are one of the most important means by which public dollars are injected into the local economy. The way these funds are distributed is therefore of critical economic and social significance. So that is our overview, and I would like to thank, before we move to the second speaker, Deputy Mayor Barbara Romero, and especially Vice President Heather Repenning, who took the leadership of this project very seriously. Also Jen Pope from the Mayor's Office. Also Linda McGlinchey from Office of Contract Administration. Hannah Choi, the Associate Director there in Contract Administration. And our Inspector General, John Reamer, I don't know if he's here, from Contract Administration, and particularly with the data that is a framework for our work. As well as I would like to thank Dr. Fernando Campos, who has done an outstanding job at some of our policy analysis on the committee. And finally, Tanya Pineda from the Mayor's Office as well, who helped to drive a lot of the details of our work. That is an overview of our work. And now with that, we will have our next speaker, who will now give a update to you on the Board of Public Works policy.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Repenning or Dr. Campos, what are we doing?
I'll go first.
Okay. Fernando Campos.
Dr. Campos, Executive Officer. Today is definitely a great day. Not only did we get to observe someone retiring, but also we got to sing at our board, but also a celebration and recognition of all the partners that are not only in this boardroom, but also those that could not join us, collaborating with the private sector, working with other city departments. A total of 44 partners and stakeholders joined this meeting, or these meetings over the last 6 months or so. So I'd like to take an opportunity to also recognize not only staff, but also those that are in the boardroom, and also those that could not make it today for their time and dedication to help us get to this point. Just really briefly in terms of what the city has done in this area of creating contracting opportunities, not only diversity, but also promoting more women and minority businesses. Back in 1983 and also 1989, there was 2 executive directives that were issued by our mayor, by our then mayor, establishing policies on MEBs and WEBs. WEBs meaning women-owned businesses, and also minority-owned businesses. In 2001, the then mayor also reaffirmed that policy, and not only reaffirmed it for MEBs and WEBs, but also other business enterprises. In 2011, our mayor issued Executive Directive number 14 that not only composed the MEBI, WEBI, OBI elements, but it also included small business enterprises, emerging business enterprises, and also disabled veterans business enterprises. And it also promoted the BAVN system, which is the Business Assistance Virtual Network, which many of our contractors that are in the room and those that are not are very familiar with. So what really begs the question is, what next? What's the next step? What's the evolution as we move forward to look at ways that we can improve our contracting across our entire city? We have done some outreach over the last several years, and traditionally the good faith effort required a series of steps that our contractors had to undergo through. However, with the inclusion of, or the introduction of the BAVN system, we were able to eliminate about 3 of those steps, and also have all indicators be met in order to pass the evaluation as opposed to a 75% passing rate. So those are some of the things that we made it a little easier several years ago for our contractor community. In addition to that, about a year ago, here in this very room, we unveiled what we call the facelift of the BAVN system, the Business Assistance Virtual Network. And in that, we not only gave the facelift to BAVN, but we also made some minor tweaks, and that is we reduced the number of NAICS code, which is the national, and Hannah, you may need to help me with this, the national industry classification system that is used to codify all businesses by the type of business that are registered across the entire U.S. We were able to reduce this down to 6 digits as opposed to using a 4, 5, or 6 digit, and that created some confusion among the contracting community. In addition to that, we also automated the TOS process, which is the task order solicitation process, not only in the advertising, but also on the awarding of personal services. So to set some sort of baseline or to figure out where we've been and where we have and where we're going, the Los Angeles County releases information, and I understand this is maybe a little dated, but we received this information about 2 years ago, and LA County releases it every 2 to 3 years. So the next time we receive that data would be probably December 2017, where we can update the data. However, back in 2012, LA County reported about 1.1 million businesses that are registered across the LA County. About 29% of those businesses self-identified as Hispanic-owned businesses, 18.9% as Asian, Native Hawaiian, and other Pacific Islander-owned firms. 7.1% of those businesses identified as Black-owned, and 1% as American Indian and Alaskan Native-owned firms. The remaining 44% were considered or identified as other or non-minority-owned firms. It's important to highlight back in 2012 that at that time, LA County reported that approximately 42% of all those businesses, of the 1.1 million businesses, identified as 42.21% identified as women-owned business, as compared to the national average at that time of 40%. The City of Los Angeles also collects some data. Unfortunately, we do not collect it based on whether they're minority-owned business or small business enterprises or other identifications. However, we are able to register all businesses, what we call through the NAICS code. As I mentioned, in the City of LA, there's approximately 500,000 firms that are registered. The graph before you just highlights a very small percentage of those businesses, and these are the top 16 NAICS codes that represent majority of those businesses in the City of LA. Approximately 290 NAICS codes are used. The number one NAICS code that's used by firms, about 41,000 of the firms identified as lessors of real estate, and about 5,000 of those also self-identified as educational services. So these are schools, colleges, universities. So this gives you a flavor, and this provides a flavor of what type of businesses are in the City of LA. The remaining businesses range anywhere from 1,000 to less than 1,000 businesses overall. During the 4 meetings that we met with the group as a whole, survey respondents, we issued 3 survey instruments, and we really wanted to get the feedback not only from the folks that are in the room, but also those that couldn't make it, in terms of what do you want to see out of this experience and what would be the biggest takeaway from you. However, before I reveal some of the survey results, just to give you some idea as to the composition of the survey respondents, on average, about 30 years of service for contracting experience is what was reported. Nearly 1 out of 2, or about 47%, played a role as a prime or a subprime, and approximately 2 to 3 contracts were awarded to each of these respondents per year on average over the last 5 years. Interestingly, we found that about 50% of all those that responded earned a revenue base of about $14 million, and many indicated that approximately $10 million and or a maximum of 50 employees should be the average size for a small business. This was very important to us because we really wanted to hear feedback from the group in terms of how do they believe we should define a small business. Some of the survey results, and they're attached to the report as transmittal 3, and instead of going through all of them, really quickly, the main one survey result was a strong preference for small local businesses and very small business enterprise programs. Also, there was a strong desire from the group to have one set of certifications for all city departments as a whole. There's others that are on the PowerPoint presentation. I won't go into details, and they're also highlighted in transmittal number 3. So with that, and before I turn it over to our Commissioner Repenning for what the recommendations were, I wanted to provide a context. Not only we looked at the LA County businesses, but also provide an overview of LA City businesses, but looking at what we've actually done here in the Department of Public Works, because specifically this policy 781 is how do we improve contracting opportunities in the Department of Public Works. We looked at the last 2 years of average pledges, not only in construction projects, but also personal service projects. There was about 45 projects that were awarded by this body. Approximately 2.76 were MEB, 1.67% of the pledge amount was WEB, 12.68 was small business enterprises, 3.07 emerging business enterprises, 1.22 for disabled veterans business enterprise, and 19.91 for other business enterprise. The same type of data was collected for the personal services. The item before your commission today is proposing that we establish a baseline using a 2-year data. However, if your board wanted to establish that on a 1-year data, that is provided in the report as well. So with that, I will turn it over to our Commissioner Repenning, one of our co-chairs, as we move forward in terms of how do we, what are the next steps and how do we take these ideas and operationalize them.
Thank you, Fernando.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis, for the overview, and Dr. Campos for running through a lot of the background, and I appreciate a lot of the research that you've put together for us, especially the last slide we just saw, establishing a baseline, really looking at the numbers. How are we doing right now, I think is revealing, not surprising, but it's good to have the numbers. You know, we started this process at the end of last year, really wanting to, for me, it was really wanting to just take a look at what we were doing, talk to people who were very familiar with our contracting program, and find out what's working, what's not working as well, how can we do a better job, how do we get a better result when it comes to making sure that the dollars we're spending are actually being spent in a way that has the maximum benefit for our local communities here in Los Angeles. And you know, we vote on contracts 3 times a week, and on a regular basis, our board receives contracts for which the numbers in terms of the diversity of the proposal are not necessarily what we would like to see. And so that was kind of my point of departure was, you know, is there a way for us to make some adjustments that would yield a better result in terms of diversity? And so, you know, I had people come to me, some women-owned businesses who had heard about our mayor's executive directive on gender equity, and they said, Heather, you really need to, in terms of gender equity, you really need to look at what some other programs are doing around the city. You know, some of the programs that really have an emphasis on small business are actually doing a better job supporting women-owned businesses than your program at Public Works, and you should take a look. So that was kind of, for me, the big question going into this was, you know, there's a conundrum, which is that our program at Public Works is actually fairly progressive. We're one of the few programs in the state where we still use those categories of women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, and certify those businesses in a thorough way. A lot of other programs in the wake of Prop 209 have kind of walked away from those categories. You know, maybe they still use them, they still keep track, but those categories are still at the centerpiece of our program. However, because of Prop 209, we cannot require anything for those categories. So our main requirement is that people complete the outreach in a very specific way. So I really wanted to take a look at, that's kind of how we've been doing things, whereas a lot of other programs are really, they are setting a requirement, and their requirement is in terms of local and/or local small businesses, requiring a certain number of those businesses be part of the contracts. So that was, to me, the key thing that I wanted to talk about, but I really wanted to hear what else people were thinking, what else people were experiencing with our program, and we had a great discussion. I set out, wanting to do 4 meetings. We did the 4 meetings. We got done what we needed to get done. We had people who are really, you guys are here today. We had some really honest discussions. People really opened up and shared. I think there was a lot of learning between some of the prime contractors, larger companies, and some of the smaller companies, between what everyone's trying to grapple with and putting these things together. And I know that whatever comes out of this, just on the basis of really the conversations that we had, the friendships and the relationships that were formed, I think that that on its own is a very positive thing. We did come out with, we do have 8 recommendations, and I know there are some speaker cards, so anything that, we want to hear from the folks who participated in the group on any of these recommendations, or if there's something that's not in here, feel free to speak about whatever. But just to go through the key ones that we're going to be looking to move forward with. The first item on our list is to go back to what I was talking about previously, local small business inclusion, and really starting to look at selected contracts. How can we pilot having a requirement or giving some sort of a priority to contract proposals that reach a minimum of local small business inclusion? So we looked at how to do this, and on the personal services side, for us that's going to mean that when personal services contracts are evaluated, that we can actually include in the criteria local small business inclusion and give proposals additional points based on that factor. On construction contracts, and this is something that came out of the thinking on our Bureau of Engineering, and we just looked at the numbers. I mean, we have a lot of work to do on construction contracts. We have a mandatory subcontracting minimum. People have to hit that MSM or it's non-responsive. But what we're seeing a lot of is that the proposals meet the MSM, but it doesn't provide, they don't necessarily are not diverse proposals. So what we talked about doing is actually offering contractors the opportunity to either go with the traditional MSM or to hit a smaller percentage of subcontracting work that would be local small businesses. So it means that you can hit that lower bar. You'll have to sub out less of the work, but we'd be very specific about what that lower bar would look like. And then the other thing, this is what we heard a lot from folks, is really looking at whether we can put the emphasis more on putting a diverse team together and move away from the emphasis on documented outreach. And we heard from firms who are putting a lot of money and a lot of resources and really putting their proposal at risk through the traditional, the BIP process. And what we heard is there a way that, the documentation becomes less important if we come in having met your goals? And so we said, yeah, we think, and we know that other agencies are doing this, so we said, yes, we think that we can give that a try. So this is an important area for us. This is probably the main kind of area of change and growth for us. But what was unsatisfactory about our process is that I think as a city we're lacking a lot of really good data comparing how all of the agencies' contracting programs are doing. And so what we wanted to do is really do this in a pilot way, do it in a way that makes sense for public works so that we can collectively evaluate and see the results and see what we're getting. So we're not coming today to say we recommend doing an about-face 180-degree change of how we do things. We're saying let's try this on contracts that make sense and let's see what we're getting. And And so that's where this is headed. On our second recommendation, we heard a lot from people about wanting really face-to-face matchmaking and outreach, that people appreciate our BAVN system. It's very easy to use, but that new connections are not necessarily happening within the context of BAVN. So people want more outreach events, and so really doing that on a quarterly basis or 3 times a year, I think it makes the most sense to do it with the other city departments. I know my colleague, Commissioner Cinto, has developed passion and expertise on this topic, and I think, we're going to be doing more. So recommendation number 3 is, especially as we're looking at construction, et cetera, we need to increase the pool of businesses that are available to our primes in the BAVN system, and make sure that we're covering all the categories by making it easier for people to get certified, reducing the wait time for certification, looking at creating reciprocal agreements with other agencies, so that the pool of businesses under any NAICS code, or the pool of businesses who are interested in certain types of work, is as expansive as it should be, so that we're not just asking people to put together proposals that are diverse. We're providing them ample resources to do so within BAVN. Recommendation number 4, going back to my earlier point about feeling like we didn't have enough data to do a really good apples-to-apples comparison on best practices among city agencies. We're talking with the City Controller's Office to actually help us do that and help us provide a kind of neutral study, if you will, of how everyone's doing and what are the best practices, so that we can proceed in a way that is actually driven by some real hard numbers. Recommendation number 5, we wanted to make sure that we were using this discussion to hear about ways to make it easier for us for people to do business with us, to cut red tape. This is one of them. We heard from some of our friends, especially on the construction side, that bid regularly, that providing a past performance evaluation every single time is onerous, and is there a way to provide that kind of regularly so that we have it, but that they don't have to go through filling that out every single time, and other elements of the contractor responsibility ordinance, and that seemed to make a lot of sense. Recommendation number 6, sheltered marketplaces. This is a John Reamer vision that I believe in. Really looking, we do a lot of the same types of work over and over again at Public Works. How can we use those areas of work, and I can't use the word set aside, because I think the city attorney wouldn't want me to use that word, but identify areas where small businesses are competing against other small businesses, so that they can take on smaller pieces of work and grow. And so this is what we've done with our sidewalk program in a way that has been, from early indicators, very successful. And I think that model of creating lists of firms that are smaller, and we're still bidding out big pieces of sidewalk work to bigger companies, but for these little pieces, having small businesses take them on, work with us, grow with us, so that they eventually could take on larger work or even come on as primes. Looking at more areas to do that, I think, is important. Number 7, actually increasing our goals. It's not something we've really done in a while. Our goals have kind of remained the same, but actually let's increase our goals. And finally, number 8, creating mentoring opportunities to support the small businesses. There's a lot of experience. There's a lot of experience in the room here today. There are a lot of companies out there who might like to get into the mix. We all want the mix to be as competitive as possible. It helps the bids you put in come in lower, it gives us more competitive pricing. How do we reach out to those smaller companies and provide them with some of that expertise so that they can learn how to do business with the city, keep coming back, and grow? And so looking at, we have a small business academy that's very successful. As a city, we're putting a lot of resources into our small business academy graduates. They or other small businesses, how can we find opportunities to mentor with them? So these are recommendations. Each of these items is going to create a lot of work to fully implement. I'm committed. I know Commissioner Davis is committed. We appreciate the help of any of our colleagues on the board who are interested in helping us move forward with some of these items. As a next step, we will continue to meet with the Business Advisory Council. We talked about maybe twice a year, just kind of reconvening to check in on how things are going. Continue to analyze, explore, and providing regular updates to our board, and really look at metrics for monitoring success in this area. So, I kind of consider this the beginning in many ways of the work that we have to do together, but it is also the end of a really good process that I think some really great people committed a fair amount of time to, and I'm very grateful for that. So with that, I'll open it up to questions, and maybe we'll hear from the public.
Yeah, let's do our speaker cards, and then we will go from there. We'll start. What? Yes. We'll start with Brian Jordan, Tetra Tech.
Good morning, President James and Honorable Commissioners. My name is Brian Jordan with Tetra Tech, and I'm here on behalf of the large professional services, engineering, and consulting firms that participated in the ad hoc Business Advisory Committee, namely AECOM, Black & Veatch, Brown & Caldwell, CH2M, and Tetra Tech. As companies, we are always looking for ways to improve our approach to outreach, inclusion, and diversity, and greatly appreciated the invitation from the Board of Public Works to participate in the process. First, we want to thank Commissioners Davis and Repenning for their efforts to lead the process. They were active, engaged, and very important leaders for the committee. We also want to thank all the city staff, many of whom Commissioner Davis announced earlier. They were open and receptive to feedback and ideas that were offered by the business community. Second, we want to express our appreciation to Commissioners Davis and Repenning for the process and approach they took to encourage open dialogue and honest dialogue, which allowed for candid remarks and observations from both the business community and staff. We offered several observations and recommendations during the committee meetings based on our experience contracting and delivering projects to the board. The meetings Commissioners Davis and Repenning hosted over the last several months served as an effective forum for our feedback. The meetings also allowed us to listen to many other stakeholders that represented the private sector. Some of these stakeholders shared different views than us, some shared similar positions, and others offered observations we hadn't considered. Ultimately, the recommendations outlined in the Business Advisory Reform Recommendations Report reflect a fair and balanced approach. The report outlines an approach to address several of the key concerns that the private sector identified. Many of the recommendations are going to be implemented in a manner that allows them to be executed at a small scale or on a pilot basis to confirm that the approach doesn't have any unintended consequences, as Commissioner Repenning mentioned. Finally, there's a commitment to periodically reconvene to ensure there's a mechanism for continuous feedback to the process. Because of this, we recommend that the board adopt the recommendations outlined in the report, and we commend Commissioners Davis and Repenning for their leadership over the last several months. Thank you.
Excellent timing, Mr. Jordan. Thank you, sir. Bijet Zanjani. Good morning.
Good morning. These are always too tall for me. Good morning, Mr. James Davis, honorable board members, and department heads. My name is Bijal Sanjani. I'm the president of Integrated Engineering Management, small woman-owned business in Los Angeles. The current WBE MBE participation level and the good faith effort was established over 30 years ago. We all know it doesn't work and it's not as effective as it was 30 years ago. I've met with many of you several times to put spotlight on this issue, and I always heard in return to be patient, and I was, and this is the time. I believe this report and its recommendation will open the gate for change. And I'm grateful to all of you, especially to Commissioner Rappenning and Commissioner James and Commissioner Davis, for spearheading this and bringing this issue out to open. And I believe this is going to open opportunities for many small businesses such as ours. And I look forward for many more changes and opportunities that it will bring us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Anjani. Amone Livingston? Welcome back.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you again, too. Good morning, commissioners and fellow members of the Board of Public Works Ad Hoc Business Advisory Committee. My name is Amone Livingston. I'm a civil and environmental engineer with over 25 years of experience. I'm also the founder, president, and CEO of O2 Engineering Projects and Construction Management, Inc., O2 EPCM. We are certified SBE, WBE, MBE, I call it all the BEs, and we're also an emerging small business company. I'm humble and to say it's been a great pleasure working with Commissioner Mike Davis and Commissioner Heather Rappenning alongside with other city employees and working with the ad hoc business advisory committee to improve the ways of contracting at various departments within the public works and within the city of Los Angeles. As an entrepreneur and a small, new, emerging African-American business owner in the engineering and construction industry, I look forward to seeing these recommendations improve diversity inclusion in our contracting processes and continue working with the city, especially including African Americans and business owners within City of Los Angeles contracting system. Again, I want to thank Commissioner Mike Davis and Commissioner Heather Rappenning for your commitment and passion in working with myself and my fellow ad hoc business advisory committee members. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Livingston. Jack, it looks like Ochoa to me. I may have missed that, but we'll find out in a moment. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I brought notes.
Okay.
Again, my name is Jack Ochoa. Again, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak. I've been with the Small Business Advisory Council with LAUSD for about 15 years and instrumental in making sure that a lot of the policies, a lot of the ideas that are now coming around here. So what I've done is I put in an executive summary exactly what has happened over the last 15 years over at LAUSD. And recently a resolution actually got passed where they updated a lot of stuff that they were working on. So just real briefly, a 10% preference on bidding, 15 points. We talked about bidding and points. This is actually listed on here. But the one thing that really put some teeth onto all of this, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due, Jose Huizar, at the time board member Huizar at the school board, actually put together a resolution that would actually, for facilities, we'll call it public works, put a 25% goal for all projects, not just one or two, but everything. Anything that was coming through the door had to have a 25%. I'm also give credit where credit is due. Today, LAUSD is the benchmark at 43, 44, 45%, depending on what year it is. That is the number. And the people chasing them is San Diego Unified, and they're sitting at about 35%. The point is that you have enough agencies around you that are doing public works under a different name, but they put a goal. They said, this is the number you are going to achieve. In fact, the county of LA recently passed, about a year ago, passed a resolution where 25% of all contracts will go to small business. Period, end of story. And they're giving everybody 3 years to do it. So with that, hopefully this will give you a guideline of what's already in place. And I'm here to serve at your disposal. Thank you so much.
Mr. Ochoa, one moment. Commissioner Davis has a question.
That's similar to the state's program. The state had a 25%
Correct, under the micro program. So what
Is that,
Commissioner...
is that a reflection of that?
Exactly, that's all it is. And they're all using, I can never say that word, where they're sharing kind of certified companies. Just in LA County, there's 4,300 certified small businesses here through the state. And again, I'm only looking at the county. But there's enough of us to go around.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Ochoa. Rubina Chaudhry? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Rubina Chaudhry, President of Mars Services. We've worked with Bureau of Public Works for more than 25 years, probably longer than most of the people in this room. I'd like to talk about the implementation, the next phase that's coming. And a couple things that I've seen that have been successful that are worth looking at is build in an accountability module or system for the client managers in addition to the prime and the sub-managers. Because I think it's that in reach. You are all wonderful in formulating policy, but really proof is in the pudding. How is it implemented at the end level? And how is your program manager in that, whether it's media center or whether it's public works building, helping implement your policy, and how are they accounted for that? Metro had a similar program, and and information is available on that. So that's one thing. The other thing is the paradigm shift in how we look at the whole thing. We're looking at inclusion, subcontracting, and this, but in my opinion, and from personal experience, Prime thinks that they've won 100% of the project, when in essence they have won either 80%, 70%, 50%, 40%, 85%, depending on whatever the other sub-partners are. That concept is not understood by the Prime's project managers that are executing it. It's understood by the people that are putting the proposals together, that are putting the teaming agreements together, and I can share real experiences behind this. So those would be two things. And the third thing, from the small business perspective, I'm an entrepreneur who's been in business for 25 years. If I don't grow, my company doesn't grow. And I think we need to, in all our training programs, look at self-development and confidence development of the entrepreneur, in addition to the accounting and contracting type of trainings that we are doing. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it. So those are all the speaker cards. Let me just start by saying that, first of all, thank you all for being here. One of the best parts of this job are these hearings where we have an open dialogue with the stakeholders in the city of Los Angeles that participate in our civic process. And this group, in the 4 years I have been here, not only your commitment today, but the work that you all did leading up to this is just stellar. I can't think of another cooperative, if you will, that has affected real positive potential future change on how we do this work than this ad hoc committee has. So my thanks and congratulations to all of you. Mostly thanks, but also congratulations. Ms. Chaudhry, as you said, the proof will be in the pudding. We'll see how we do. To my colleagues, Commissioner Repenning and Commissioner Davis, excellent work. Thank you so much for the time that you've put into this. We get updates along the way in our management meeting, but just true leadership on this. This is a heavy lift. It's one of the, people will ask me sometimes about coming into City Hall, what were surprises, what did you expect, what did you not expect, and one of the elements of the largest challenges that I recognize has been this challenge, and the procurement issue and improving our numbers in these categories. So this is, I hate to say it's a long time coming, but it's been a long time coming. And I'm so glad to see that this action now. Dr. Campos, thank you for your continuing work on this and what you'll be doing in the future. Again, the data analysis and background is a critical portion of success here. And to our bureaus, Bureau of Engineering and the lead bureau on this, the Bureau of Contract Administration, Ms. McGlinchey, I've said before how I feel about your work in the city and how valuable it is and important to this board. So thank you again. And Mr. Reamer, your leadership, thank you very much. Hannah, as always, thanks again. I really feel like we're turning a corner now. And we've been trying to approach the intersection for a long time, and we've watched other governmental agencies, our neighbors and colleagues in other agencies do it, and it's our turn now, and it's time to be in the driver's seat here, and all of you are. And I really, from where I sit, can only just say thank you for the effort and the professionalism and the consistency with which you've approached this real challenge in the city of Los Angeles, and we will be the much better for it. Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. This is a great moment. It's so exciting. To our co-chairs, Commissioner Penning and Commissioner Davis, thank you so much for your leadership. The proof is in how you facilitated this, and that's true leadership, when you could engage the public in that. So thank you so much. To the steering committee, to Mr. Reamer, to Dr. Campos, Hannah, Linda, and Tanya Pineda, thank you so much for your role in being a part of this incredible endeavor. And to the Business Advisory Committee stakeholders for being engaged and being willing participants to have that dynamic attention. And in order to move from one place where we're at to this future of Los Angeles that is bright, that has economic potential. This is what our mayor, our city council, and the environment has built, a Los Angeles that is moving forward. So this idea of local return, this idea of economic democracy, and therefore almost economic justice, is upon us. So I think when Commissioner Penning, when you mentioned that we welcome the Commission's participation, we're right there with you. And we are at this watershed moment, and you said it before in the past, a Mulholland moment. And Commissioner James, you said it too, about we're at a tipping point. And we could look back on this last day of June 30th, fiscal year 2017, as not at the end of this process, but the beginning of a Los Angeles anew, a Los Angeles 2.0, with all the local return, with all the different endeavors, and not just Metro and all the Polo Lao, all our proprietaries. We have an opportunity to stitch it together. And John, I remember that was one of the earliest things, a clear contract, and that's kind of embedded in me about how do we create more justice throughout Los Angeles in terms of this diversity. So I hear you, all the things about opportunities, the leadership that we have in our board, the inclusion of African Americans, benchmarking with other entities, the accountability of implementation. The proof is in the pudding, and the self-development. All that, that's ingredients for a better city. So I'm right there with you all, and I join my colleagues in wanting to do more work and keep the movement moving forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. I would only add before going to Commissioner Davis, and Commissioner Davis mentioned this, but I'll put an exclamation point on it. When we started this process, this is something that the mayor has, you get those arm squeezes occasionally, and this was something that the mayor squeezed collectively our arm about, and it takes some time to delve through the process that existed and to go through the exercise that you all have to make this difference. And I want to give a shout out to our Deputy Mayor, Deputy Mayor Romero. You mentioned it, Commissioner Davis, she was there this morning, and it's great to have that support existing today, of course, in our mayor's office. Commissioner Davis, then Commissioner Penning.
Yes, I want to say that I rest my faith in the work of our prime contractors. We often talk about, as we go around talking about our vision, we talk about Prop 209 and what it says. And I think Commissioner, our Vice Chair and Co-Chair of the committee, Repenning, stated that what Prop 209 does is it prevents local government from setting and compelling prime contractors and makes sure that local governments can't set any quotas and goals for minority hiring. However, what Proposition 209 does not do is it does not say that you cannot hire women. It does not say that you cannot hire Latinos. It does not say that you cannot hire Asians. It does not say that you cannot hire African Americans. I looked at it. It's not one sentence in that whole document that says prime contractors cannot hire minorities. Prime contractors cannot hire women. It doesn't say that. Not one sentence you can find in the whole document that says that. Therefore, developing a culture, what is the culture of our organization? We have, back to basic principles, we have a vision for the Department of Public Works, but what is the culture? What is it that we believe in? What is our core value? And so that is in fact where we are in terms of how we are able to manage public works contracts. It rests with the leadership of our prime contractors. That's the one thing that Prop 209 does for us, is it rests the leadership on the prime contractor to create the society that we want to have. And so I appreciate being here, and I look forward to working with us on all of the policy augmentations and suggestions and recommendations that we brought forth. But even more than that, I look for the innovation. I look for the ideas. I look for the plan implementations from our prime contractors, because you are the stars of the culture we seek. And so I'm looking forward to see what innovation comes from those who get the contracts from the city of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Repenning?
I just wanted to wrap up with a couple quick thank yous. I mentioned Dr. Campos. You put a lot of work into this. Tanya Pineda, the mayor's office, thank you. And to our Bureau of Contract Administration, John, Linda, Hannah, you guys are great. And I had a chance to really get to know you through this process. And I've come to see, not just on the basis of my work with you, but seeing how our contracting community, sees you and talks about you and interacts with you, that I think we have some of the best people anywhere here at the City of LA on these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Rivas?
I don't want to repeat, what some of my colleagues say, but, I definitely agree with a lot of their observations. But one thing that, for me, that I really want to highlight is I think one of the speakers and maybe in the report, we talked about setting metrics, right, and holding ourselves accountable, and I think one thing that we can do is make it public, maybe via our website. I know our mayor's office is excited about using data, and we have a chief data officer that has released data about our city services, and our controller also does that too. And so maybe there's a way that we can take the lead to use the expertise within the city, to have some type of visualization that is updated, so that not just this group or that we get it within a board meeting, but that it's always up there in public, some type of way for everyone to see the status. So that's what I hope to see, and congratulations to everyone that worked on this, and I look forward to what comes from these recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. So before we take the vote, I do get the presidential prerogative. I'm going to say one more final point. I guess when you're president, you can speak 3 times on one item. John, this was something I was going to I thought, I'll leave this in a private discussion with Mr. Reamer. But I think I'm going to just say it here publicly. because it's been on my mind for a while and for a few reasons. I hope that as we go through the process and we see what our results are with this focus on small business, that we, and what I would like to discuss with the Bureau of Contract Administration, because maybe it's been done before, maybe not, but and this actually came up last night in a conversation I was having at an event where Commissioner Penning was being honored, appropriately so, by Pacoima Beautiful, with our supervisor, Sheila Kuehl, who I've known for many, many years. And I'd like to find a way to be able to see if we can include and track contracts that go to the LGBTQ community as well. I'm a member of that community, and know a lot of people that work in relation to government contracts, and I just wonder if there's a way that we can include that community, our community, too, and maybe this is the opportunity with the focus on small business. So just it's really for just an immediate future discussion item on how we might continue to grow in that direction. With that, I will see if there's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Penning, seconded by Commissioner Davis and Commissioner Cento. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt special item number 1. Any issue sending it forthwith? We will send it forthwith. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Excellent. Thank you. So, Dr. Campbell, we can adjourn the special?
Yes.
Okay. So special is adjourned. Back on our regular agenda. Let me call agenda item number 1. I've got a couple of different agenda sheets here. Agenda item number 1, Bureau of Engineering, Council District 3, emergency bid request, Oakdale Red Wing Storm Drain Project, recommending that the board first find the project an urgent necessity and authorize a construction budget of $5,223,000, including contingency for the construction of the project, and secondly, authorize the city engineer to advertise and award the project off the on-call emergency sewer and storm drain repairs contract and in compliance with established procedures. On number 1, Mr. Shaw. Good morning, sir.
The Oakdale Red Wing Storm Drain Project will be undertaken in the Council District number 3, the south side of Ventura Boulevard between Oakdale Avenue and Quakertown Avenue experiences frequent localized flooding during significant storm event. Currently, only two Los Angeles County catch basins serves approximately 124 acres of tributary area. This project will alleviate frequent flooding by conveying runoff from the problem area to an existing 96-inch diameter Los Angeles County storm drain. In February 2017, this project site was flooded and Bureau of Sanitation implemented interim flood control measures. In May 2017, the Bureau of Sanitation sent an urgent emergency request to implement permanent drainage solutions. In order to complete the construction of this project before the start of the wet weather season in October 2018, the project needs to be expedited using an emergency on-call contract. The scope of work includes the installation of approximately 2,850 linear feet of 24-inch to 54-inch diameter storm drain along Ventura Boulevard, Oakdale Avenue, and Red Wing Street. The project plans are approximately 50% complete. The contractor will be responsible to complete the design. The construction estimate and design estimate for this project is $5,223,000 and will require approximately 14 months. The current 5-year on-call emergency sewer and storm drain repairs contract will expire on November 14, 2017. Therefore, after the contractor is selected and before the contract expires, the Bureau of Engineering will request authority from the Board of Public Works to extend the contract until May 2019. The total funding for this project is not to exceed amount of $5,223,000. The amount of $740,000 is available in fiscal year 2016-17 Stormwater Pollution Abatement Fund. The funding for the remaining amount, which is $4,483,000, is identified in the council-approved budget of fiscal year 2017-18. It is our recommendation that the board find the project an urgent necessity and authorize a construction budget of $5,223,000, including contingency, for the construction of this project, and authorize the city engineer to advertise and award this project of the on-call emergency sewer and storm drain repairs contract in compliance with the established procedures.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. We'll start with Commissioner Cento.
Thank you, President James Nadir. Thank you for this. You know, the photo documentation in the board report pretty much says it all. Picture one in terms of the conditions during the wet weather, the stormy weather, and how it has impacted businesses and public safety. Exactly. So this is the use of the on-call emergency sewer and storm drain on-call list is appropriate in this manner. Otherwise, we would have had to wait a longer time and therefore possible years, and this would have continued and been worse. So I think this is an appropriate use of this list, and I think it's engineering's responsibility to make this go faster. So I support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cento. And Nadir, again, thank you for the briefing and the background information. I know that this is something that Council District 3 has been wanting. This has been a recurring problem. We have a few of these in the city. It seems that we have gotten better. Of course, this year with the rainy season, you will sometimes, some of them reveal themselves in a more pronounced way than in previous years. And I believe the need is certainly there to provide this project for the Valley. Anything further on number one? Any questions? Commissioner Cento's made a motion on agenda item number one, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number one. Any issue sending number one forthwith? We will send number one forthwith. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Have a nice weekend. Agenda item number two, Council District 11, Environmental Impact Report for the Venice Auxiliary Pumping Plant Project, recommending that the board, in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, review and consider the final Venice Auxiliary Pumping Plant EIR and adopt, which everyone has, and adopt and forward the project and transmittals to the City Council with recommendations that, first, it certify that the Environmental Impact Report, which is transmittal numbers 1 and 2, was completed in compliance with CEQA, that the Environmental Impact Report was presented to the Council as the decision-making body of the City of Los Angeles, and that the Council review and consider the information contained in the EIR, and that the EIR reflects and expresses the City's independent judgment and analysis. Secondly, adopt the findings and statement of overriding conditions adopt the findings and statement of overriding considerations listed in transmittal number 3. Number 3, adopt the mitigation monitoring and reporting program. That's transmittal number 4. And 4, specify that the documents constituting the record of the proceedings in this matter are in the custody of the city clerk, located at 200 North Spring Street, just across the hall, and in the files of the Department of Public Works Bureau of Engineering. That's located at 1149 South Broadway, Suite 600 in downtown Los Angeles. And number 5, approve the project as described in the final environmental impact report. And before we begin with the presentation, we have a speaker card that why don't we hear from our speaker as issues that are presented by the speaker we may want to respond to in this public hearing. Daniel Whalen. Good morning, sir. And we have your the one-pager that you provided as well, which I've read through.
Excellent. That's exactly what I'm going to be reading.
Okay,
Good morning,
go ahead.
commissioners and board members. My name is Dan Whalen. I'm a registered architect in the state of California, and my wife and I own the property at 128 East Hurricane Street, adjacent to the pumping station. On a personal note, Kevin, we've been longtime ticket holders of the Distinguished Speaker Series, and really appreciate your commentary.
Thank you.
We are concerned that both the draft EIR and the final one that you're looking at today rely entirely on acquiring our property to have the required open space that's required for the project and the parking. But the city has not yet acquired our property or even begun to acquire our property. We wrote a letter to that effect to Dr. Jan Green-Rebstock of the Public Works Department regarding this issue back in November of 2015, and a follow-up letter again last December. Neither was included in the public comments portion of the executive summary in the EIR. Very disturbing. The city did give us a very low offer on our property in December of last year, and then sent a letter, a notice of to commence eminent domain in January. We responded to the city letter with an independent appraisal of the property, which we delivered to the city on January 27th. We spoke to Deputy City Attorney Peter Langsfeld on June 15th, and he told us that the property had not yet been condemned, and that the first step would be a city council hearing to vote on that matter, and after the city council's approval, then he would start his work, lengthy, monthly, negotiating the fair price and whatnot. But this project is not on his radar at this time. In conclusion, we feel the EIR that you're about to vote on is fundamentally flawed without the acquisition of our property. No other alternatives were given if they don't get this property. We feel the city is not acting in a fair and timely manner to make the acquisition, and for the board to proceed in approving this EIR would be irresponsible and inappropriate at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Whalen, I have a question for you. As somebody registered an objection today, I'll take the privilege to ask the question. Have you had any communications with the council office regarding the acquisition of your property? Meaning, there was an offer, you essentially, as I understand it, rejected the offer, so that kind of leaves the ball in the city's court on what to do next, recognizing as the instruction even in our agenda notice that it goes to the council. Has there been any communication with the council yet?
No. We were dealing with the Bureau of Engineering Real Estate.
Okay.
And then when the offer was so different from our appraisal, it was transferred to the city attorney's office.
Okay.
I could have contacted Councilman Bonan's office just to put it on his radar, but I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
I don't see a need for that yet.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. So, Eileen Schutzel? Okay.
Hi, Jan Green-Rebstock with the Board of Public Works, and if you don't mind, please indulge me. I'd just like to give a quick response to what you heard, and then I'm going to turn the floor over to Eileen so she can give you
Of course, yeah, because we may have some questions about it during the discussion.
Sure,
But go ahead.
No problem. So I just want to be clear, we did receive a letter from Mr. Whalen on the draft EIR, and as part of the final EIR, Chapter 2, we reproduce all of the letters that we've received, we annotate them, and then we provide specific responses to each comment. So that is part of the record in the final EIR that's included. We did erroneously identify the property in the draft EIR as being city-owned. We corrected that in the final EIR, acknowledging that the city would like to acquire the property. And the use of the property at 128 Hurricane would be to provide project parking and also meet open space requirements that the project will need going through the city planning entitlements process, which is coming up. So just so that you're aware of that. Also, the board report does discuss 5 different alternatives that were looked at in the EIR. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. Oh, also I just want to clarify that I have been in contact with City Attorney Peter Langsfeld, and he clarified procedurally. His understanding is that some action must be taken on the CEQA documentation and whether the project is approved or not. And then the next step would be a hearing before City Council establishing a resolution of necessity to start the acquisition or condemnation process if that's required.
Right, yeah, that was my understanding, Jan, thanks. I think that while Mr. Whalen has made his point for the record, and I would certainly recommend continuing discussions with our real estate division, we're not the decision-making body on that issue. It's going to be with the city attorney and the city council. But let's go ahead and hear the presentation because some other issues might come up, including, as you had referenced, the statement about the 5 alternatives as well. But let's go ahead with Ms. Schutzel.
Hi, good morning, honorable commissioners. My name is Eileen Schutzel. I'm an environmental supervisor with the Bureau of Engineering Environmental Management Group. I'm here today to present to you for your consideration the final environmental impact report for the Venice Auxiliary Pumping Plant, also known as VAP. I'm with Jonathan Cuevas with the BOE's Wastewater Conveyance Engineering Division Design Team, and Kwase Burko with the Bureau of Sanitation, who is our client and also the operator of the VAP. I provided some handouts for you. I didn't get it electronically, I apologize, which is a copy of my presentation as well as an excerpt from your transmittal number 3, our mitigation measures from the final EIR.
Ms. Reipsog, just so you know, while she's presenting, to give you an opportunity just to prepare, I'm going to ask you to summarize the alternative sites that you had referenced when she's done. So go ahead.
So the VAP is located at the corner of Hurricane Street and Canal Court, as well as where the Biona Lagoon and the Venice Grand Canal meet in the community of Venice. The project is comprised of 3 lots shown here, where the red dots are, and the project is located next to the existing Venice pumping plant. The draft site plan shows where the new VAP will be next to the Venice pumping plant and how the 2 facilities were designed to work as one compound. The northerly 2 lots is where the building and the pumps will be, and the westerly lot is the 128 Hurricane lot, where the project required parking, open space, and coastal access will be. So the proposed project will be built again next to the existing Venice pumping plant. It includes 3 vacant lots with a total combined area of approximately 12,000 square feet. It includes a new 2-story electrical building approximately 30 feet in height, 3 new pumps and associated new Department of Water and power drops, sewer pipe connections to the coastal intercept sewer, construction of a submerged diversion structure beneath the Grand Canal, parking, landscaping, green open space, and a public viewing area at the 128 Hurricane lot, and 3 laydown and staging areas. I'm here this morning to ask for your consideration of the final VAP EIR to adopt and forward this report and its transmittals to the City Council with the following recommendations that actually Commissioner James stated for the record earlier. The environmental impact and mitigation, basically we evaluated this project for a range of potential impacts, did the analysis, and determined that the majority of impacts fell into the no impact or less than significant categories. There were 6 no impact and 11 less than significant with some mitigation. And with mitigation applied, there are only 3 significant unavoidable impacts, and we have a total of 24 mitigation measures. For the 3 unavoidable and significant impacts that remain, they're noise and vibration, land use and planning, which is it's a secondary impact based upon the noise and vibration impact, and hydrology and water quality. The noise and vibration impacts will occur during excavation, from the pile driving, and because there's sensitive receptors right across the street, all the mitigation measures that we apply, there still will be an impact to those sensitive receptors. So we have 4 mitigation measures for noise, and they include construction of a noise control, the preparation and implementation of a construction noise control plan, implementing ground-borne vibration control measures to reduce construction generated vibration, design project facilities to reduce noise from all mechanical and electrical equipment to levels that comply with applicable regulations, and a best management practice that will provide for off-site workspace for the people who work during the day in that area. The land use and planning is because it's a industrial facility next to residential land uses and zoning, and we are actually pursuing a public benefits entitlement to build this, not pursuing a zone change. And the hydrology is because if we do have a tsunami, which is probably, I wouldn't say not probable, but is very unlikely, that will happen anytime soon, basically it contributes to inundation of the Grand Canal. So the next steps that we are going to take, we're planning on going to council in the next month, and we still have to complete the permitting phase, which will start in the summer of 2007, and that includes the coastal development permitting, the city planning entitlements, and the other environmental permits, including the Army Corps of Engineers and our other water permits locally. The construction we anticipate will start in the summer of 2018, and the duration will be about 18 to 24 months. Do you guys have any questions?
Regarding the significant impacts and the mitigations related to the significant impacts, would you summarize those?
Yes. I'm sorry, can you ask your question again?
So there are a number of mitigation measures. And while they're in our written record, if you could just provide some of the highlights for the oral record.
Sure.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sorry.
So I just reviewed.
So people know, we make an oral record that people can go back and listen to. Sometimes people outside the building listen. Sometimes the press listens. They want to go back and if there's a question that comes up. And so I just wanted the oral record to just a summary for the oral record.
Sure. So I did go over the noise impacts.
Yes.
So we have aesthetic mitigation, which is staging and stockpiling materials in a confined laydown area. We have we have Tier 3 construction equipment, which will reduce the noise and vibration of those equipments that are on site. We have resident vouchers for window washing and car washing. This is a
dust.
Yes, the community asked for this, so we did give that to them. We have special status plant surveys because we are going to be disturbing the Grand Canal, and so we are going to replace all the habitat as it was before we disturbed it. We have monitoring for bio. We have, again, restoration and vegetation of not only the Bayonne Lagoon, but the Grand Canal. We have covered disposal containers, water quality monitoring during construction. We have nesting bird surveys for bio. For archaeological, we have monitoring just in case we encounter any archaeological or paleontological resources. We have considered liquefaction in our design, and we have hazardous mitigation that have to do with soil and soil vapor, some subsurface investigations. We have a confirmation of an oil well abandonment. I believe that's on 128 Hurricane. And then the noise control plan includes things like reduced construction hours, a construction mitigation coordinator, noise barriers, noise mitigation plan, noise monitoring plan, quiet construction equipment noise compliance, proper maintenance of the site, equipment mufflers, shrouds and shields, no idling of any of the equipment, minimum use of audible safety warnings, construction work training, generator and compressor placement, and construction equipment storage. We also have some mitigation for transportation, which basically we're shuttling our construction workers from outside of the community so that it lessens any burden or impacts for traffic or parking.
It's a big deal for parking to be able to
Absolutely.
do that, yeah. It's not a cheap process, by the way, the
Right.
shuttles back and forth, yeah.
But I think that's to satisfy our constituents in that
Well, you have
neighborhood.
to, and then parking's it's such a, it's a rarity there, so
Right.
it's an important
So-
commodity, yeah.
And also, one of the things that we advocated for from the Bureau is to limit the pile driving hours during the day, where the community asked for that to commence when they leave their homes for work, and then they wanted it to finish before they got home, so that they would have a peaceful evening to, with their families or whomever. So that was one of the ones we added on to for noise.
I would just mention a couple things. One, on the confirmation of oil well abandonment, I just know this because, we have a new petroleum administrator that's now a division within the Office of the Petroleum Administrator is now a division within the Board of Public Works. And we have a petroleum administrator here, Uduak Intuk, that just as you all go forward, I just happen to know that it's a bit of a moving target at the state with Dogger right now regarding what categorizes as a properly abandoned well. And just be sure while we have that resource here in our offices to reach out to him to make sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted regarding any well abandonment issues that may exist. Maybe they don't, but it's referenced here, and I just think that we have that resource. You ought to use it.
Yes.
Okay, and then that's all I have until we get back to Ms. Redstock. Commissioner Jacinto?
Thank you, President James. Eileen, thank you for the report, and Dr. Jan for chiming in on the issue regarding the property owner. And appreciate Mr. Whalen's presence. I wanted, doing a site visit out there and knowing how this project is very special because it's an industrial use within a very tight, close neighborhood. And it's apparent that there is public benefit in the fact that we will be able to protect the citizens by having this project be put into play for redundancy. And yet we're not able to mitigate everything. I will say that having lived through construction myself next to the 405 for many years, that the off-site workspace is important and it's a good benefit to those that would like to avail it, to allow resident business owners to be able to do their work off-site without being so much interrupted. So I appreciate that. I looked at the transmittals regarding the options, so I feel that we're good moving forward on that specific property, 128 East Hurricane Street. So I appreciate the mitigation plan and would ask us to continue to have the construction monitor, the concierge service person out there really working with our local residents on a daily basis to monitor and to make any adjustments to make the mitigation as impactful and as severe as we can, minimizing the impact. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. Anything further? Jan?
Thank you. I will try to walk through the alternatives that were analyzed as succinctly as possible. So in your board report on page 4, we identify the fact that we studied, and this is also in chapter 4 of the draft EIR, so there's an extended discussion of each alternative in the draft EIR. We looked at the no project alternative, which is basically doing nothing except for what existing conditions are, which is how does the Bureau or how does LA Sanitation respond when they know there's an upcoming heavy rain event and they need to prepare. Basically right now what they do is they rent pumps and they put them, and associated piping, and they put them on Hurricane Street, and they need to be able to respond to these events within 24 hours. And it creates noise, nuisance odors, and air emissions because you're using diesel generators out there to run these things. So it's basically crisis management as needed, right? So that's kind of what's happening. That would be what would need to continue to occur with the no project alternative. Then we have alternative number 1, which was initially the proposed project where the city was contemplating vacating Hurricane Street and basically creating a compound between the auxiliary pumping plant that's proposed and the existing plant there, which is the oldest pumping plant in the city, right? And again, the pumps are being proposed to ensure system reliability, add redundancy to avoid a a sewage treatment release, right, into the Bayona Lagoon and the Grand Canal, which are identified environmentally sensitive habitat areas. Okay? The vacate Hurricane Street, basically all the things would still remain on the site plan, but you would be losing coastal access, and the Coastal Commission, who we'd need to obtain a permit from, was not thrilled about that idea. The council office as well encouraged us to rethink the site design based on public input, and that's what we're bringing forward to you today. Those were the main alternatives that received the most analysis in the document. We did review another slew of alternatives that were considered but rejected as infeasible because they also did not directly meet the project objectives. Those include using the temporary at-grade pumps with additional external piping at the plant and along Hurricane Street, building a new plant on the proposed site, and decommissioning and demolishing the existing VPP. Just the logistics of that, because there's no way to take the existing plant offline without having something already constructed. Just the logistics of that were hard to do. Expanding the existing plant and installing pumps and piping below grade. There were some groundwater issues there, and also the fact that the manifold is there on the street in Hurricane provided some engineering challenges. That scenario also required the use of the 128 Hurricane site to make it happen. Constructing a VAP underground at proposed site location with a control room off-site. That was decided that because this facility operates 24 hours, and it needs someone on site at all times to manage the controls, that wasn't really, did not meet the operating requirements. There are hardwired systems that need to be monitored by staff continuously on site. So having someone off-site does not meet that need. And then finally, we looked at an alternative where you just construct the plant at an alternate location along the coastal interceptor sewer. And that does not meet the engineering need because the existing plant is located at a low point on the CIS conveyance system, and it must pump sewage underneath and across the Marina del Rey channel and then to the Hyperion treatment plant. And the elevation difference is about 60 feet, and relocating the auxiliary pumps and diversion structure outside of that area would not provide the necessary hydraulic capacity and redundancy needed during wet weather events to achieve what the VAP is being designed to do.
Okay, thank you, Jan. Let me, is anybody from the real estate division here?
Do not see
Real estate
anybody
division.
here from the real
Okay,
estate
so I want to go back to an issue raised by Mr. Whalen, and I'm going to step outside of my bounds of the hearing a little bit, but it's related to this agenda item, and our speaker put it in issue. I've done, in my 25 years as a lawyer, I have some experience in the eminent domain process. I'm speculating, but I'm speculating based on what Mr. Whalen said today, and where I know that the project needs to go. It sounds like to me that there's an opportunity for a resolution of the issues that were raised this morning, without the with the need of the city attorney now, but without going through the full eminent domain type process. And so my request will be, and I'm saying this, Mr. Whalen, for your benefit sitting in the room, but I'm going to pick up the phone and call our real estate division and just see what our options are. And Mr. Jordan will be back from vacation, who's our regular general counsel, Ms. Rittenberg. You've been terrific being with us for the last few weeks. Mr. Jordan gets back when our board returns after recess, and I'll talk to our general counsel. I would just like to, if possible, and I hear something that makes me think that we can tie the process up in a bow rather than to slow it down, and see if we can work out a resolution, because otherwise the eminent domain process can be slow, time-consuming, interruptive, and expensive. that's what I'll check into. In the meantime, I would request that, and Jan, I saw you speak to Mr. Whalen earlier. I would get his contact information. We have some of it here if he doesn't want to give it to you, so that you all can be kept in touch and you can learn when the process is happening, and maybe we can have one of our folks from real estate division reach out. But yes, ma'am. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's why that's exactly what I was hearing from Mr. Whalen. I'm like, I sense that there's a resolution here without the eminent domain process. So let's see what can happen. So, yeah. Okay. All right, we're on the radar now. So, and we have your contact information. Thank you for coming down. Thank you for your patience with our hearing this morning. And Jan, thank you. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2, seconded by Commissioner Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, we will do that. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 2 forthwith. Dr. Campos, are we clear of all the voting items this morning?
Yes.
Just have number 6, an
Just
oral
item number
report on the status of our contracts expiring within 90 days. Jim Berman from the Bureau of Engineering.
Jim Berman, Bureau of Engineering, Mr. President, Commissioners. On Monday, a new list of on-call contracts was approved by this board. The list that is currently with us is expiring on July 12th, and when that list expires, there will likely be a short overlap between the implementation of the new list and the expiration of this list, but that'll be a short.
And we're talking about weeks, right?
Probably less than that.
Oh, okay.
It's with the new list is with the mayor's office at this time.
Right. Oh, yeah, I mentioned, I wonder if we can get that back soon. Okay. I remember I was told about that, yeah. Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Berman? All right, I would say thank you for your patience, but you were here as a board rep anyway, the bureau rep anyway. So, Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
So, announcement, we are dark next week for the July 4th holiday and week. So everyone have a wonderful holiday, and we will reconvene on Monday, July the 10th. And until then, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.